Of course, I wrote during the pandemic. How could I not? Writing is how I order my world, and my world needed to be ordered. I'm just now getting around to publishing a collection of poems I wrote during the worst of the pandemic. I want to share some of my process and inspiration for this collection. Poems are short. I needed something short to work on while my kids were at home, doing their online learning during the beginning days of the pandemic, because they weren't actually doing their online learning. They were watching YouTube and surfing the web and basically doing anything but schoolwork. At one point, I had screen shares for the most problematic sneakers. And in between trying to write an email and trying to complete some kind of to-do list, I'd click over to what my 7th grader was working on. Some kind of Minecraft tutorial. Wait, that wasn't right. Then I'd have to leave my post at the table, where my twins were set up doing 2nd grade work, and remind the 7th grader to get back on task. So there wasn't a whole lot of time for creativity, but I'd scribble a poem in the moments I could spare. And even though the pandemic lasted more than 100 days, which is how many poems I have in this collection, some days I managed more than just a poem. On the lucky days, I got a chapter of a book written, or an essay fragment, or nothing at all. I learned to roll with it all, adjust my expectations, take what I could get, and try my best to be grateful for it. It took me a while to edit and revise this collection because I wasn't quite ready to confront all the emotions the pandemic brought out in me. But I'm glad I did. I think we all have times in our lives when we'll be faced with a challenge and we'll have to say, will I let this break me or remake me? These poems remade me. Why are we inspired to write anything? Writers have different reasons for writing what they write. Most of my writing happens because I feel a need to process through something. The pandemic hit me hard. One of my kids was in his 5th grade year. He didn't get to experience his completion ceremony for elementary school. I can only imagine how the parents of high school graduates felt. The isolation got to me. The cabin fever, too. I worried about my kids and their social lives. Online learning demanded such constant supervision, I felt myself breaking. A book launched into a void. Others got postponed. Life really felt like it had halted. I ran more. I ate less. I tried to control anything in my life that I could because so much was out of control. I plunged into depression. I worried that my kids were plunging into depression. The isolation of such a strange, difficult time sent me to my notebooks. I collected remnants of thoughts and poems in real time, trying to process the heavy emotions of fear and sadness and worry and anger and the fleeting moments of happiness and joy. Writing has always been one of my pathways back into hope. And that was the point of this book. I needed hope, so I wrote my way back into it. So I suppose you could say my state of mind inspired this book. When you're trying to walk through the dark, you need a flashlight. That's what this book was for me. And the act of writing it reminded me that no matter how long and dark the night, there is always a brighter, beautiful, even if cloudy, morning. Always. While this book was written during and about the pandemic, it is, at its heart, about any difficult event we have to endure in our lives. There is a progression we take through such events. The time when we feel bound by whatever we're facing, when it holds us down or makes us feel smaller or stretches on and on and on in a seemingly never-ending, hopeless kind of way. The time when we struggle against what we're facing, trying to find our feet, trying to find our way, trying to see in the dark. The time when we finally unfold our wings, break free from whatever is holding us down, and fly. Every one of us will experience these trials and tribulations in our lives, but many times they can seem isolating. We feel alone in our struggle. We don't want to talk about it. I hope what this book does is not only give voice to the isolation and struggle of the pandemic, but also provides hope that we'll get through. We are stronger than we know, And sometimes we have to let ourselves feel the hopelessness of our situation before we can muster the strength to climb out of it. Trial begets strength. We build our wings one trial, one day at a time. I hope this book gives my readers wings, and I hope they soar into their ridiculously bright future.